Starting this weekend from July 7th to July 9th, you'll be able to catch yourself a mighty Delphox in Tera raid battles in 7-star Black Crystal Tera raid battles for this weekend and next weekend, which is the 14th to the 16th of July. Now, this Pokemon is going to have the mightiest mark, and it's also going to be in the Tera type Fairy. If you're like me and you don't really know much about Delphox, Delphox is a very cool looking Pokemon. I'm actually really surprised about this one. It is a Fire and Psychic type by default, but keep in mind it's going to have the Fairy Tera type. It's going to have its hidden ability, Magician, which means it's going to steal the held item of a Pokemon it hits with any move, but this might not work within the Tera raid battle format. I think most people are saying it's not going to work. I'm kind of hoping that's the case because it would really suck if it steals my Shell Bell and heals itself every time it hits me and my friends. So I don't think we really need to worry about its ability too much. In terms of its stats, it has a really low HP, it's got low attack, low defense, it's got really high special attack, special defense, and baseline speed, which means it's going to move pretty quick, it's going to hit you with special attacks more likely than it's going to hit you with physical attacks, and ideally, if you want to do a lot of damage, you want to try bring a Pokemon that's going to do a lot of physical damage to this Pokemon because of its low defense. So I'm going to give you 3 Pokemon builds that you can potentially use to take on this Delphox and win in the raid this weekend or the following weekend. The first Pokemon of choice is one a friend suggested to me. In fact, my friend suggested all of these Pokemon to me in one way or another. But he highly suggests that I use the Heatran. Heatran is a very good Pokemon to take out this Delphox because of its immunity to many of the attacks that Delphox can throw out. Now, for this Heatran, you are going to have to get it from, like, BDSP or, like, Pokemon Legends Arceus, I think, and then use Pokemon Home to transport it into your Violet or Scarlet game. So not everybody is able to get this Pokemon, which is why we're also going to be doing Ceruledge as well as Armarouge, which I'm sure one of you will have either of these. So let's start out with Heatran. Now, Heatran, as all Pokemon for 7-star raid battles, needs to be level 100. In this case, we're going to be using the Tera type Steel. So Steel Tera type. The held item is going to be the Shell Bell, which heals yourself after you do damage to an enemy Pokemon. Our ability is going to be Flash Fire, which means that every time we're hit by a Fire-type move, we absorb the flames, we're immune to fire, and it actually powers up our own Fire-type moves. For our ability, we're going to be going with the Modest ability, which allows us to have a 10% increase to special attack for a 10% decrease into physical attack, which is fine because we're going on full special attack. And in terms of our EVs, if I press the L bumper here, you can see here we have 252 EVs into special attack, and you're also going to want 252 EVs into special defense. You can also go for HP, but since Delphox is mainly a special attacker, you're probably best going more special defense, but you can get away with HP too. If we go ahead and we look at the moves here, we're going to have Metal Sound, which is going to lower the special defense of the target by 2 stages, which you're going to use 3 times, and then you're going to just unload on Flash Cannon, ideally. And this should destroy Delphox quite easily, unless there's a gimmick involved that makes it that that's not the case. But we'll have to see this weekend what Delphox is going to do. We do have Heat Wave in case you want a Fire-type attack, in case Delphox uses Fire-type attacks against you and gives you a huge increase to your Fire-based moves. And alternatively, if you don't want to use Flash Cannon and you rather want to go for a physical attack build instead with this Heatran, you can actually use the move Iron Head. I just don't think there is a move under Heatran's move pool that allows you to boost your physical attacks or weaken the enemy to physical attacks. But it should be fine though because Delphox has a very weak defense anyway. But nonetheless, I do recommend going with Metal Sound and Flash Cannon. And that is your build for Heatran. If we go ahead and we look at Ceruledge, you're going to need level 100. You're going to need the Steel Tera typing. We're going to be holding the Shell Bell item that heals us every time we do damage. We're also going to be having the ability Flash Fire that boosts our Fire-type attacks if we get hit with a Fire-type move. We're going to be using the Adamant nature that gives us a 10% increase to our physical damage for a 10% decrease to our special attack damage. And if we look at our EVs, we have 252 EVs into HP and 252 EVs into attack. For our moves, we have Swords Dance that raises our attack stat by 2 stages. You can do this up to 3 times to get a huge increase depending on how the Delphox raid is going to go. You have Clear Smog that is going to remove all stat changes on the enemy Delphox. So if the Delphox decides it's going to raise its own stats by incredible amounts, you can use Clear Smog to just get rid of it. We have the Iron Head move for our physical move of choice here with the steel typing. So when you're terrestrialized, you're going to want to use Iron Head against that fairy type Delphox to dish out the damage with that physical damage, which is going to do a lot of damage and be very nice. We also do have Bitter Blade in case you do get hit with fire type moves and your Flash Fire comes into play here to allow you to use Bitter Blade and, get away with it very nicely. Of course, we'll have to see during the raid how much this all changes, but Ceruledge does have a nice variety of moves to use. Moving on to Armarouge, Armarouge is going to have to be level 100. It's going to have the Tera type Psychic. You can also go for a Steel Tera type and use Flash Cannon. But in this case, instead of doing that and copying the kind of Ceruledge, which you can do as well in a sense, we're actually going to go for the Psychic typing. We're going to be using the held item Shell Bell so that we can heal ourselves every time we dish out damage. Our ability of choice is going to be Flash Fire. Yet again, if we get hit by fire type moves, our fire type moves are boosted. It also just makes us less immune to getting hit with fire so that we're kind of cutting that whole section of Delphox out. We're going to be using the Modest nature that gives us a 10% increase to our special attack and a 10% decrease to physical attack. And if we hit the L bumper here, we have 252 EVs into HP and 252 EVs into special attack. For our moves of choice, we have a wide variety. We're going to probably start out with Acid Spray, which harshly lowers the target's special defense value by 2 stages. This also actually does damage, so if you use this 3 times, you'll immediately be able to terrestrialize and use your Expanding Force, which is your psychic attack of choice, which is going to do incredible amounts of damage if you manage to get Acid Spray off 3 times, terrestrialize, use your terrestrialized psychic form to use Expanding Force, which means you're going to deal a lot of damage very early on by your 4th turn in the raid. Additionally, you can boost this even further if you want to use Calm Mind and boost your special attack and your special defense stats, which is great in case the Delphox is using really hard special attack hitting moves, or you just want to boost your damage even more. And if you want to go beyond that, you can use Psychic Terrain that is going to power up your Psychic type moves for 5 turns. So ideally, you're probably going to want to use Acid Spray 3 times, terrestrialize, use your Psychic Terrain, and then go into Expanding Force, or even Calm Mind. There's too many ways to use this build to get your damage out. You can go Acid Spray 3 times, you can go Calm Mind a couple times and use Expanding Force, Psychic Terrain, etc, etc. It should be quite easy with any of these 3 Pokemon, depending on how the Delphox gimmick works. But we'll probably cover more this weekend on how the raid goes, and thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps you. If you have any suggestions of your own, leave them down in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.